What's going on, Independent Threads fam? We got another great Sneaker Sanctuary episode for you. We're going to be talking to maybe somebody who has one of the comfiest routines on the timeline. But before we do that, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things, comment, let me know who I should be talking to so that we can keep growing this and keep talking to more great folks. But without further ado, I'm going to bring our guest to the stage. We've got none other than Jaden here. Thanks for joining us.
Charles, my man, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate all you do and trying to keep up with everything and everyone. Always love coming across you on the timeline, interacting with you and everybody else. And thank you so much for inviting me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's those interactions that, piqued my interest and said, you know what, we're going to have Jaden on, talk to him about his sneakers and some of your other favorite footwear as well. So I know you posted just the other day, maybe last week, that you reorganized your collection. Uh, did you take account? How many roughly do you have in there now?
Yeah, we're actually down a little bit. I finally downsized a few pairs that I needed to either get rid of or just wasn't wearing as much anymore. I'm down to 107. I
Okay.
want
Okay.
I want to
Hey,
get under 100 at some point.
well, they got to stop releasing shoes then.
I know. Well,
That's
fortunately, the
upset.
next couple of months, there's really nothing coming out that I'm looking for until August. So the good thing is
Okay.
I can save some money and I can try to make some more space, which is always a never-ending battle, no matter where
Yeah,
you
for
are.
sure. What are you
Especially
looking forward to in August?
with my setup. Got the French Blue 12s coming out right before my birthday too, which is great. I missed out on them the first time because I wasn't in the game seriously when they dropped in, what was it, 2016 or so. I can't remember when
Yeah.
the last release was, but I definitely was not serious about collecting. So I had no idea they were even back out at the time. And then when the originals dropped, when I was right in between high school and college, I was
Okay.
still a men's 7, so I was still wearing grade school sizes and saving money when I was 18. So a lot of, and we'll probably get into that at some point. A lot of what I have now, couldn't have as a kid because they didn't make it in my size. So part of me going nuts is healing my inner child in a sense and being a big kid with the stuff I didn't get to enjoy, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are trying to satiate and heal that inner child that missed out, or maybe we were just going through a time in life where it didn't make sense to buy sneakers, and now we're at a time where it's like, okay, we're gonna fix that.
Yeah.
So so speaking of not being in it too much back at that time, what really got you into collecting?
Well, a lot of it was during COVID. In the early days of COVID, I still only had 10, 15 pairs in my collection that I would
Mhm.
just wear day in and day out and just try to keep in good condition, which in New York isn't as easy as you'd think because God only knows what you run into on any given day. But I
Facts.
made it work, and the early days of COVID when everything was shut down, and I'm a people person, Charles. It was killing me from the inside out to not really get to interact with a lot of people. I was still going into work a couple days
Okay.
a week just because I needed the human interaction, and I would lose my mind if I was at home 5 days a week. So, and then eventually, through social media, I started to share a little bit of myself and open up my own world. And one thing led to another. I saw some stuff. I saw some old pairs that I had always wanted and didn't get. The Flint 13s are one of them in 2020 that dropped right in the early days of COVID. I missed out on the initial drop and got them resale a few months later. And from there, end of 2020, early 2021, my collection started taking steroids.
Hey, there's nothing wrong. I think there was a lot of us that got into it then. I started buying in 21. I bought my first pair of Jordans in my life for my 40th birthday, and it, it's like, okay, that's fine. And then a little while later, I saw another pair, and then I, found the sneakers app, and I said, "Oh, what's this?" And started really getting, because I'd always appreciated and liked sneakers, but then I started peeling back the corner, and it's just kind of taken off from there. I'm
Man,
not
when I
quite at your
first
level yet, but yeah, that it kind of just started snowballing from there.
Yeah, I'm not at a lot of other people's levels either. So don't feel like you got to compare yourself to me or anything else. We're all striving for the same thing, you know. And when I got into it, I'm like, what the hell is this all about? I didn't even know there was an app or something. I thought I could just go on Nike's website and buy something 5 years ago. God, how
Yeah,
times have changed.
absolutely. Yeah, and I do remember, way back when people weren't as when internet and everything wasn't as ubiquitous.
Right.
You would just go into stores, and you know, release day would be lineups, but sometimes you could just go into a store week, 2 months later and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's still sitting here. Let me grab that."
I miss those days.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you have often touted in your collection that you are a aficionado of the Jordan 13. What is it about that silhouette that really captures your attention, and what is your favorite colorway?
I'll tell you this about my love for 13s. It's a very sentimental story, and I'm always honored and blessed to share it. When I was 11 years old and the OG playoff 13s dropped, my mother went down to her last dollar to get them for me when she saw me looking at them at outside the window of one of the sneaker stores in our neighborhood, and she didn't even think. She went. I was with her at the time. We went to the bank. She took money out of her account. True story. About an hour later, they were coming home with me, and from that day on, 13 was what got me to be a big Jordan guy, and then
Yeah.
it kind of mushroomed from there as I got older, and then obviously as I've grown as a collector, I've opened my eyes a lot more. But I still like to think that my path and my road is different from a lot of other collectors and a lot of other people I know. I don't go after any of the hype stuff. I don't really go after any collabs. I don't like any of them personally. They don't appeal to me. I don't like fours. I don't like fives. So people listen to this and they'll cast their own judgments on me, but that's fine. We like what we like, man.
It is what it is. Uh, threes, yeah, threes don't really move my needle at all. Fours, they're all right.
I was like
Fives,
that with I was like that with threes until about a couple of years ago. Now threes and ones are getting up there with 13s and 12s for supremacy.
okay, all right, all right. No, that's a great story about why the playoff and the 13 specifically means something to you. And I know you've got quite a few pairs, but you have a very strict no shoes in the house policy.
I
Now,
do.
is that part of your upbringing from in the house, or is that part of you as you got older, you realized the city can be a bit dirtier than you want, and so you've instituted that rule?
You know what, man? I wish I was like that growing up. I really do because I love it so much. Like I will never go back now that I've converted to it. It's just so beautiful. My reasons are not just because of the dirt here in New York. Like
Uh-huh.
I know that that's a big part of it, but for me personally, it's the comfort factor. It's also wanting to set some boundaries. Like a few years ago at work, I was around a lot of toxic energy and a lot of toxic drama at the job, none of which was my doing, but I just was caught in the middle of it. And sometimes I would bring that home, and I noticed it kind of dragged me down a little bit, personality wise, and
Okay.
I didn't want to keep that mentality. I wanted to switch it up a little bit, so I started thinking about keeping positive energy around me at all times and trying to figure out a way to separate the inside from the outside. And one day on a Friday, when I came home from work, walked in the door, took off my shoes, and felt a lot better. I didn't, and you know what? I didn't think I would be able to stick to it. And the good thing about the pandemic was it helped me. It helped me do that. And now here we are, almost 6 years later, and it's the best part of my day. It's my favorite routine to relax and unwind.
Mhm.
And I used to think people who made you take your shoes off when you walked in the door were crazy, and now I'm one of them. But I wouldn't have it any other way because it just makes me feel better. It picks up my spirits, and
Yeah.
it helps me be more laid back and more chill. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that for you. It started off as a mental safety net, if you will, to keep your home a positive environment, and it just kind of stuck, and you've been able to create that for yourself. So I love that. Um,
Yeah, and
and we can all
Living in New York City all my life, I should have been doing it as long as I could walk. But better
yeah,
late than never. And any place that I'm in from here on out, my own or whatever,
yeah.
soon as I come through the door, take off my shoes, get comfortable, and that's just the way it is. And I don't wear my outside clothes in the house either. I like to keep inside and outside separate at all times.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, I'm with it. It's like when I was a kid growing up, you had your school clothes and your play clothes. You got to keep those separate. Yeah. I like that. Like that. And so we can often find you on the weekends posting in your favorite footwear of a crisp pair of white socks and maybe some slides. Uh, you know, what what are your go-to brands for socks to keep you comfortable?
Honestly, it doesn't matter. I've bought a lot of unbranded ones from Target, and
Okay.
they do the job.
There you go. All
Honestly,
right.
and what I try to do on the weekends, I try to not even think about putting my shoes on.
Yeah.
It was always drilled into my mind when I was younger. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But as I've gotten older, I'm going to be 40 next year, and I know that's hard for me to even think about because I'm still a big kid with so many things, and I
Yeah.
feel so young, and so many things try to keep me young. But I start to realize a lot more the older I get, how much more you need to just live in the moment and relax and be yourself in the moment. And sometimes you don't have to be ready for anything, and that's okay. And I try to do a mental reset, a spiritual reset. I'm really, like I said, I'm really big on different energies and vibes, and keeping it consistent throughout whatever environment, whatever atmosphere I'm in. And if I don't have to go anywhere, I'm walking around in my socks and my slippers all day, and I'm just gonna stay cool and stay unapologetic about who I am.
There you go. So do you have inside so you got the socks, but what about the slides? Do you have inside slides versus outside slides when you just need to slip something on
Yes,
to grab the mail, whatever?
yes, I do. And I got when I started the habit of taking off my shoes at the door, I got
Uh,
burned the hard way a couple times. So I made sure to get an extra couple pairs and separate the outside from the inside. Like I have them all in my closet in my bedroom, and I'm always fighting to make space and
mm,
keep everything as close to unchaotic, if that's the word that makes any sense, as possible. And how
yeah.
I do it with that is the ones I wear outside, I have a rack in my closet. I leave those on the rack, and my house
Okay.
slippers I just leave on the floor. And I carry them out of my bedroom. I don't walk in my room with my slippers, and the same reason I don't want to transfer a different vibe from a different part of the room, different part of the house into my room.
Okay.
My room is my sanctuary, so I'm either in my socks or in my bare feet when I walk in my room.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual thing more than it is a germaphobe thing. I'm not crazy, and
No, you're good.
I love though as I've become more open and more more of a promoter about how I reset and how I be me. I love that I found so many more people that are like me. I used to think I was the only crazy one who did what I did, and when I see more people rocking out the way I do, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel better. Like, wow, I'm not the only one who thinks like this, and that's how that came about. So my house slippers are on the floor in my closet. My outdoor slippers are on the rack. So I have
Gotcha.
that little bit of separation, and that keeps me going, and I don't worry about mixing anything up. I carry them out of my room, walk around wherever, and then if I go outside in them, I go out, take them off the door just like my sneakers or whatever I'm wearing, and then
Hmm.
either switch to my house pair or walk around in my socks like I'm doing right now.
There you go. All right. So I mentioned earlier when we started, you had reorganized your collection. What was the impetus for that? Was it getting chaotic, or were you just like, yeah, I need a change. Let's move it around a little bit.
Switch it up a little bit. Like the basic parts of my setup are consistent. Like they're all on the sidewall in my bedroom because closet space in my apartment, for lack of a better term, sucks. So I I have to get creative sometimes, and my cases are where they are, and I have another rack for whatever extra I have. If I have more sneakers than I have cases, and I want to change that soon, so
Mhm.
I'm hoping by the end of the year I can get it close to a 1-to-1 ratio where I don't have anything sitting out because I'm just naturally organized, and I don't like a lot of clutter. So I'm
Okay.
always trying to keep a decent livable vibe when I walk in there, and I'm not burned out or bummed out by things taking up too much space or feeling like it's in the way if I'm having a crappy day, which fortunately I don't have as many of anymore as I used to. So I don't have to worry about that as much, but it's a never ending battle. Like one week I'll have something in a different part of the setup, and then another week I'll switch it up, and then the one thing that I have that I can say is honestly consistent about the way I organize everything is I have my 13s on the top row.
There you go. That's the pair that gets the prime real estate. So you're always looking right at them.
And I try not to stack them up too high because I'm only 5'7", and I don't want anything that I can't see over.
There
I
you
want to be
go.
I want to be able
No.
to look up and see the tops of the cases and the ceiling.
Okay. All right. All
So I,
right.
I can't go too high because it'll freak me out.
Get you a you got to wait for one of those. See if Supreme will drop a step stool. Then you can start stacking them a little higher.
Yeah, we got a stool in the house too, but I just haven't brought myself
Yeah.
to go another level up.
There you go. You
Hopefully, as
talk
I
about.
cut back a little bit, I may not have to.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Uh, you talk about the rack of shoes, and you often post about your rotation of what you're wearing, kind of for that period of time. Are you picking out things that you just haven't worn lately, or is it just strictly off? Oh, this is kind of a theme going on. Like, how do you choose your rotation of what you're wearing out?
It's a little bit of both, and I got to start. I got to start tweeting out my rotations again and putting my rotations out. I haven't done that since New Year's. Honestly, it's part of me, being a little more off the grid and living
Yeah,
life a lot more and not, spending my whole day on my phone, on Twitter, on Instagram, on this, on that. But
yeah,
one of these days, I'm gonna have to do that. And I think what I like to do, I usually pick out what I wear, the whole fit, not just the sneakers, based
Mhm.
on whatever mood I'm in. And it's not an overnight. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm going to wear until about 5 minutes before I walk out the door to go to work every morning. So
Yeah.
some more often than not, I'm flying by the seat of my pants out here. But I like to dress based on the mood I currently feel in that moment. My favorite
Yeah.
colors are red and black, so those get a lot of play. And I wear a lot of blue because blue represents peace and tranquility, and I like to always be about that and make sure I have peace around me. I fiercely protect my peace. Like I'm more adamant about being in a peaceful environment than I am about no shoes in the house.
Okay. All right.
So that's a big thing for me, and I try to match my own vibe as often as possible.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I'll have plans the day before, like, I think I'm going to wear these shoes, and then go heading out. I'm like, nope, those are not working.
Yeah, especially when it rains.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There are I'm usually good about not being too extra, but there are a lot of pairs that I will be, super careful with that I baby a lot and I won't take out unless it's like 70 something and sunny.
Yeah, I've
If
got
it's even close for a 20% chance of rain, no, you're going back in the case.
absolutely. I've got probably two pairs myself. When it's the winter and it's snowing here, I know those are probably the ones I'm wearing because nothing else is really gonna see that salt and that snow.
Oh yeah, it's either 12s to Tim's for me usually in those moments.
Okay, fair enough. How many you got quite a few pair of Tims? Because I mean, being in New York City, that's kind of a staple that you got to have in your closet.
I only have two. I have a black leather pair and I have a gray pair, and I just
Okay.
got them both about a year and a half ago. I went a long time without getting a new pair, so I had to renew my New York card, so my New Yorker card, so to speak.
Just to buy them.
Like I still haven't had a pair of black forces.
I have not had a single pair of forces. Now they're on my list.
I have the
There's
white
some that I
ones, and
want to get.
I have the blue and white ones too.
Okay. All right. Well, blue being your color, one of your colors, you got to have that.
Oh yeah,
So before we get out of here, where can people find you?
on Twitter at Jaden Daly. It's one word. My name's spelled out here. It's easy enough. Instagram at JD Kicking It, KICKINIT. It's all one word. Feel free to follow me. May not follow you back right away, but I will definitely interact with you, and I will make sure that I acknowledge your presence one way or another. I always love whenever people get back to me one way or the other. I never knew that I could meet so many awesome people just by tapping into a different part of my personality. And that's one thing that I'm always grateful for. And one thing that, even if COVID was taxing on all of us,
Mhm.
it opened me up to a different part of the world.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I'm glad that due to you getting on Twitter, and I started using Twitter more, that we were able to meet and make this conversation happen. And with it being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, find that moment, find that thing that's gonna help you keep your peace, and give you that environment that's gonna allow you to relax and be true to yourself.
Absolutely. That's one thing I always make sure to tell people. It's okay to have influences, but be the first you. People
That's
are
right.
gonna hire you if you're looking for a job. Pay attention to you one way or the other, just based on who you are. And I say it to people breaking into the broadcasting business, which is my second line of work. I work for the city in New York day to day, my 9 to 5 to pay the bills, but I'm heavily involved in college basketball as a sports writer and a broadcaster. And that's one thing I always tell people in the business, and it relates outside the business too, to everyday life. Be you. Be unapologetic about who you are. Never feel like you're imposing on somebody for moving a certain way. What may not work for them works for you. And as long as it works for you, that's all that matters. Keep being awesome and keep being you.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. No better way to end. Thank you for being on the episode and chatting with us, and looking forward to seeing you more on the timeline.
My man, absolutely. Keep up all the great work you do.
Thank you.